welcome. That's Squirrel Speaks. Today is Friday, September 8th, and I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. It's September, y'all. Like, it's officially spooky season. Get your spookies. I haven't put out my fall tablecloth or my wreath. My across the street neighbor had her wreath out like September 1st, and I was like, oh, who am I? I call myself a spooky season fan? Slacking. Really what it is I have to go downstairs to get the thing, the wreath. Hi! Okay, so today we're gonna have a lot of shameless self-promotion because I have an update tonight, September 8th, Friday. Those are the things I've said, at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to do another mullet episode. We're going to do business in the front and party at the back. I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who bought a Halloween bag. Thank you so much. It was really fun to see your excitement for them and to like share that with you. And today we're going to have some fall bags going up. So I hope you're just as excited about those as I am. So we'll do that, and then we'll do knitting. And in between then, I'm sure we'll do some shenanigans because hi. But like, let's get into it. Okay, so tonight's update has sock bags, right? So these are with a lightweight twill. So it's a cotton twill. It's a little bit lighter weight than my regular denim, but it still has a nice amount of body, and you get, I mean, how cute are these mushrooms? Right. And then these pumpkin acorn leaves. So good. And then in a linen cotton canvas, I have these guys. Now these have not been pressed at all. They've not even been weighted under the stacks of other things. So this is like how you can expect your bag to look like when it's just hanging out in your house, right? Like it has a nice little texture. Again, nice and you put them in other things, take them out, and they're still fun and great. So those are all sock sizes, all have unbleached cotton linings. And in fact, that's what everything is this time. There are no quilter's cottons. Every lining is an unbleached cotton. So, I mean, how cute are these little cats? I have a few of these in the twill, and I'll put them on the same listing, but then I'll put them like in a subset, right? Like some of them are linen cotton canvas and some of them are twill. This is the linen cotton canvas. The twill ones are just a little bit more saturated in color, but sometimes I just enjoy this texture of this surface is very nice as well. So got those guys, and then in the large wedge size, this like super great autumn toss. Mushrooms and maple whirligigs and pine cones and all berries. Right. And this is one I brought back from last year because I just love it so much. This like beautiful pumpkin patch with lots of the like Hubbard squash colors to kind of help balance out the pure fall, and there's lots of peaches. Anyway, it's just a fun color palette, and I love the design. So good. And then these great. I really love this one. It's kind of, I mean, it's a little bit more understated, but it is really beautiful. Like the leaves have this like kind of gorgeous translucency to them. And again, you have lots of still of the greens to kind of give you a good balance, I think, to the color palette, right? And then you get these shadow leaves where you get like, oh, it's almost like the leaf that you find that's just the veins that are like the other part has like crumbled away. So it gives me that like, ooh, that like crumbly, like we're moving into decay times. So good. These super cute squirrels. Sometimes I don't have a whole squirrel on them, but you'll at least have squirrels on one side, full squirrels, just because of the scale of the print. And that one's going to be available in the large wedge in the sweater, because in fact I intended to make them all sweater size, but I had a miscut. Happens to the best of us. So there are some large wedge ones as well. And then I have one that didn't quite make the Halloween update because it was delayed in shipment. But how sweet is this like ghosty birthday party times with these little like sweet smoky bats, right? And the little pumpkins. And this is very just like, again, mixing up the traditional color palettes. I really love it. Just like this nice, like blushy, mauvey, sort of just sweet, kind of tired background color, which I just dig. So fun. And then in the sweater size, I have this great pumpkin vine, sort of like lino kind of cut print. Just like this great visual textures going on. And then everybody loves a cat. We got some cats playing in the leaf pile. Super cute. Let me know in the comments if you need a specific cat to be in its entirety. But yeah, super great. I mean, and mushrooms, obviously. And I have this other one that's sort of like transitioning, like fall winter transition, but I just love the limited color palette. I love this tobacco color lately. It's just one of my favorites. With this nice tonal blue background. And then pears for our beautiful stone fruits that are going away but still kicking. Pears for heirs. And again, this great tobacco and black. Such a good combination. Right? Oof. And then an Aran sweater, like I said, I have more of the pumpkin patch. But I also have this great combination of these sweet sort of chickadee-ish birds with pumpkins. And then these great, I'm pretending that they are dahlias. This just gorgeous, lush, roundy moundy flower with this kind of mauvish background. I'm loving the mauve in the fall. It's very enjoyable. And then last but not least, this great woodland with your bear and your doe, and there's a stag, and there's a badger, there's a boar. Come on. Again, let me know if you need a specific animal in its entirety, because sometimes the little guys kind of, it looks like a tapestry look to it. I think the way that the trees are illustrated gives it like a tapestry vibe. Just like so sweet. Oh, so fun. So those are all going to be up tonight, fatsquirrelfibers.com. Thank you again to everybody who bought a Halloween bag. I hope you like these as well. Yeah, hooray, hooray. So much fun. Okay, so that was business. And let's do our party. That may be an overstatement, but you know what I mean, right? Party as in like hanging out and knitting together party. That's the only kind of party I'm interested in. Shenanigans. And you're right, I said shenanigans, not shenanigans. So since we talked last, or maybe, no, before we talked last, because we did a little tiny update, but I have joined a local gym. It's actually really perfectly situated. It's only like a half a mile from my house. So it's a walk, like it's not like a scary traffic issue. So I can just walk. Super cute. But I am exhausted. Like fully and totally. And the reason I thought about it specifically is like, I'm doing like this sort of like small class thing because okay. So the reason I decided to go to the gym is because I hurt my back at the middle of May. Okay. And then I was laid up, like actually when I looked back at it, like for like basically 3 months. I mean, I was able to do my job. I'm so thankful. But that was kind of it. I was up for no like physical shenanigans. And the amount of muscle I lost was really startling to me. As some of you know, I'm postmenopausal. And it is a known fact, right, that when you have fewer of those hormones in your system, it's just harder to maintain your muscle mass. And like, I've never had trouble feeling strong. I mean, I was never like, yeah, I'm going to flip a tire. I mean, I want to flip a tire, like the tractor tire. Like I want to be that person. But I was never going to flip a tire, but I felt like always like pretty strong, right? Well, this taught me that like I need to have better muscle mass, like to have like more than I need at all times, just in case I do have an injury, so that when I hurt myself or something, like the recovery is not so bad. And hopefully I'm also less likely to hurt myself if I have some better muscle strength, muscle mass, some of those words. So I decided to start because I've done like some like weight, like I don't even say weightlifting because that's not what I've been doing, but like I've been trying to do like just some, kettlebells and that's weightlifting, you're lifting weights, but you know what I mean? Like, but I've never felt like secure about it. And sometimes I run into this issue of like, especially now that I've lost all this muscle mass, like I feel like slightly unstable. And so when I'm doing just like free weight kind of stuff, like small free weights or kettlebells, sometimes or just like body weight exercise, I start to feel kind of unstable. And so I thought, maybe I need to actually be like do more like weight machines, just because I can focus more on like the actual weight lifting versus my form, because the form is kind of just like built into the structure of it. And so that hopefully I could get some muscle mass back to the point where I can do more body weight stuff and kettlebells and free weights without feeling like I'm like wobbly and like maybe I'm gonna, fall down and break myself. So there's lots of reasons I decided I should try this out. But so one of the things my dude, who is mostly my dude, is super cute. He's like 5 years old. I'm officially old now. Like I told my mom the other day, we were talking, I'm like always the oldest person in my group. And I'm like, that's the first time that's ever, like that's, that happens, right? Like when you're 20, you're probably not going to be the oldest person in your group. But like, I don't know, I guess because I don't work outside the house, like I'm not working with a range of people. So I'm like not as situated in their age range as like maybe some people are. So when I start to do, it's like only recently that I've been like, wait, I'm the oldest person here. And like, that's been a bit of a transition in my brain to like figure that out. But anyway, he's super cute and just the cutest thing. But one of the things they do is like, they'll do like a little, like, just like a little huddle before you start, like to do just like a little intro or whatever to the other people in your group that day or whatever. And sometimes it's something like, what's a bucket list item that you have or, whatever. And, but he likes to, like, he's frequently like, so what are you guys doing this weekend? And I'm like, I'm knitting. I'm going to make some dinners, probably maybe pick up some of the laundry that's on my floor. It's never like, I'm going to party. I'm going to go to a concert. I'm going to do X. I'm like, I'm going to go visit my mom. Which is fine. That's always who I've been. Even if I was 25, that would be like, I would be like, I'm just not going to wear a bra this weekend. And that sounds like a party to me. Hello. But it's been such a weird, it's so weird to be a fat, like to be at this place in my life where I'm a fat person and I am like, my goal is to get stronger. It is not to change the outward appearance of my body. And of course, like in a gym environment, that's kind of it's a weird place to be, right? Like I chose like a weightlifting gym specifically because I was like, hopefully the focus will be on like strength and getting stronger versus like changing your outward appearance as much, but it's always there. I mean, even like, I think, I mean, at least in my area, like I'm not like in the progressive West Coast or anything, but like maybe if I were in a gym in like Portland, it would be different. But it's been this weird, like, I feel like even though everybody's been really lovely, I feel like I'm constantly like on this like defensive position of just like, trying to like justify your place in a gym environment as a body who is not like on the poster, so to say, like, so to speak. And like trying to, it's weird. Like, I really don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to go in and like try to like justify my existence, right? Like, because my existence is fine, and so is yours, and so is yours, and like they are should not be contingent on like the ability to bench press X number of pounds or, you know, lift X percentage of your body weight. But I find myself really like teetering back and forth between that, right? Like between like, no, I can do everything that I'm supposed to do in this circuity thing. And then I end up, well, for one thing, I end up like totally like maxing myself out. And then I get home and I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. And like part of that is just like doing something new, right? Like anytime you're doing something new, it's a bit intense and like just kind of getting over that initial hump. But I don't know, it's a weird, it's an interesting place. Like I try to look at myself like what I would have done in my 20s and try not to do that, right? Like I try to be like, no, I am totally fine. I'm doing this thing because I want to be stronger. I don't need to make myself worthy of this experience. Like I am worthy of this experience. And part of that is like a whole like main character symptom too. Like it's like, no, nobody cares. Like nobody cares. I mean, people do care, but I shouldn't care that people care. And not everybody cares, but I don't know. It's just a really weird experience. And I do really like the weightlifting part of it. Like, even though I'm like not successful at it particularly, or like I'm so horridly uncoordinated. I'm going to pretend it's just like my body using up all of its glycogen or whatever stores. And so then my brain is just like, can't function because there's nothing to feed it while but like something as simple as like doing the step ups where you're like step up, step down, alternate, up, down. I'm like 3 of them in and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening anymore. I'm just going to keep stepping. But again, I have to be careful because that's when, again, all this like body wonkiness happens, right? And like, that's one of the reasons I did this gym thing was because like, I was like, I want to be able to push myself, reasonably push myself, but not risk hurting myself because I get this like, and then just like body just like goes like this and does something wonky and then twingy things happen. That's been interesting. You're probably like, dude, we literally, I know, right? I am the main character here though. What do you do? I don't know what to do. But anyway, so that's been interesting, but it's been an amazing time suck. Like when you're like, I signed up, they're like, okay, so 3 45-minute sessions. And I'm like, that sounds totally doable. Like, yeah, that sounds great. But like, it's never like, okay, you've got 10 minutes to put your clothes on, 15 minutes, that's an overstatement, but you know what I mean? Like 10 minutes to like stop what you're doing, put your gym clothes on, 15-minute walk, 45-minute session, 15-minute walk home, 15 minutes to just be like, holy Hannah, and just like inhale water while you're like getting your wobbliness out. And then like 15-20 minutes to shower and put on clothes and then like somehow re-enter your work life has been a challenge. A challenge. So next week I think I'm only gonna go twice because boy oh boy, this is taking me out, man. But one thing I really do like is that it does feel just grungy enough that like it doesn't feel scary, right? But it also feels like it does really feel nice to go there, and it's like it's not about looking cute or like not looking cute because that's what I'm doing. But it does have that good vibe of like, you know, I am here to lift heavy things and move them around, which I do really like. So, I don't know, it's so strange. Life is strange. And then you do something new and you're like, whoa, life is super strange. I don't know. But it is fun to lift heavy stuff. Like I flash back to like my high school gym class, which of course, hated. The only C's I have ever received in my life were one semester of high school gym and one semester of complex analysis in college. Those are my two C's. But one thing I did really love, like the only gym classes I didn't hate were when we did the weight room, because it was like something I felt like I could be at least marginally successful at, because I move a lot of weight in my everyday life. Like, right? Like I move my body and it is heavier than a lot of other people's bodies. So when you like go to do a leg press, it's like, oh, well, I can be successful at that because I move my body around. And so I just remember that. So it does have that nice feel, except the other day when I had my class, there was running involved and sprints. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I am not paying for high school gym class. Like, what is this? But that was even kind of fun. Just because I was like, I don't even know if I know how to, like, I don't even know if my body can accomplish that gait. I'm like a horse that doesn't know how to trot. I'm just like, I am not sure. It's like when you ask like people to skip who haven't skipped for 40 years and we're just like, I'm gonna need like a diagram or something. Like it feels like. So when I did run, which was really like jog, which is really just like picking up your feet fast when you're walking, I'm not sure. I don't even know what the difference is, but it was highly entertaining to me. And then when there was the sprint, I was like, hilarious, because this jog is my sprint, lady. Like I won one heat in 5th grade of the 50-yard dash. That's been this like my ultimate running success in my entire life. So. And again, I only won that heat because apparently everybody else was asleep. I promptly lost the next heat. Or because I was like 7 feet taller than all the other kids. I don't know. This life. But in my other class the other day, there was a derby gal who does roller derby. And I was just like, man, I gotta get better health insurance before I can do roller derby. Also, I like maybe need to learn how to roller skate. I mean, that might be part of it. I don't know. But I did have like, that was a fun thing to think about. And when I asked her how she got into it, she literally was like, well, because I used to do martial arts and then I moved here and like all of the classes I would have had access to were just out of my price range, but I still needed that physical contact. And I was just like, yes, I love that for you. Anyway. So those really have been my shenanigans. Those are, they're like not like exciting fall, like frolicking in the apple orchard shenanigans, because I have no energy for frolicking. But I am really excited to get stronger again, especially after that injury really just laid me up and really made me realize how tenuous everything is, right? Like one dumb moment of picking up an air conditioner and like for 3.5 months I'm just like twinging every time I do something. I have to like be horizontal like every 30 minutes of work. Like it's just, so I'm really excited about that. But it is a weird world to navigate. It's a very weird world to navigate. Excuse me, just burped. Tea is on offer. There is I am personally having English breakfast by Tea Pigs, which is one of my favorites. It seems to be the strongest English breakfast I have found, and I happen to get some of it on a really good sale. It's kind of normally out of my price range, but. And then like some like peach cobbler combo, like the two of them together is very pleasant. So have some tea. Feel free to rifle through the tins. They're in there. Go for it. Coffee, whatever you like. But like, let's just hang out and talk about knitting for a minute. Oh, I should totally. Okay, I'll be right back. I should bring over my stitching too. Okay, so last time I showed you, I'm working on this sampler or this piece by Avely Folk Embroidery. And so this is the Evangeline border. And so here's the finished object picture, and then here's mine so far. So it looks like, but I've almost got the outside edges done. And then I'm working on the middle bits. I'm not sure yet if I will keep it as this sort of like doily thing or if I will put some wordsies in the middle. But that's been very enjoyable. I really do like stitching on this cloth that she has. I feel like she calls it a Greek cloth of some sort. Traditional ground cloth is what they call it. And it just has, again, more space, like more open space between the threads than like many of the linens I've tried. And so I can actually work on it without like a light and a magnifier. I can just work on it like while we're watching television or what have you. And I really like it. It's much easier for me to count. I've had much more success in like doing my 2/2 instead of like accidentally 2/1 or what have you, or 2/3 or whatever. It just seems a lot easier for me to work with. And again, I do like being able to work with 2 strands of floss versus like lots of times when you're doing linens, you're just going to use 1 strand of floss and it just feels kind of like, I don't know, I just like the feel of 2 strands. It feels sturdier. It feels less like I'm worrying about abrading it as I'm working. You can work with a longer strand because, again, like you're not abrading the... And I think also because there's like a bigger space between the threads, you're not getting as much drag and what have you on the thread. So that's been very enjoyable. And that's really all this... I've been kind of like... I've almost started a couple different stitching things. I mean, of course I want to start like 7 cross stitch projects, but trying to be reasonable. But also I'm getting excited about maybe doing some like ornament embroideries, like the 12 Days of Christmas by M Crafts, like Crafts. She does insane ornaments, which are super fun. So she's done the 12 Days of Christmas, and I've done the collie birds, like I don't remember which number that is. I've done those, and I love it because the way she does her patterns is you print off like a piece of the sticky solvy, the like dissolvable, printable sticker paper, essentially, or interfacing. And what she does is like, she's the outline of the piece and then the actual stitching lines there as well. So it's literally just like a paint by numbers situation, but with stitching. Like you're just stitching over the line she's already created. So kind of like once you get everything set up, I love that of like, I'm not going to have to think about what I'm doing. I'm just going to be able to do it, right? Like I don't have to make decisions at every turn. I don't have to do 3 stitches and then think, okay, where should I put this 5th stitch? Or like, should I make it a different color? Like I really enjoy a project where I really clearly know what's going forward. And I think that's probably why knitting is my jam. And then there's assembly afterwards, but she has really great patterns in terms of like the amount of detail that's available in them. You know, you could certainly just work from the like pattern pieces if you don't need the other detail, but there is lots of detail there. She has some wild ones lately, like that are like little Christmas houses with like doors that open and like there's like structural things happening. She's done this year, she has like a tree topper that's like this like wild 70 pointed star. That's a mild exaggeration, but very mild. I think I brought my phone over. I was going to show you, but apparently, oh, there we go. Anyway, she's just got some really, and this, I am not sponsored. Definitely not sponsored. But, and again, I've only technically done one of her patterns, but I feel like that's probably a pretty good indication of what the rest of them are going to look like. Okay, so lighting is not going to cooperate with me today to show you things on a phone. Like, it really never does, but it's especially not cooperating today. But she even has like a little teacup that you create with like a little mouse inside of it. All felt, all super cute. So enjoyable. And then there are several makers on Etsy who've like have kits put together with like, sometimes it's hard to find wool felt. And you don't have to use wool felt by any stretch of the imagination, but I do really like to use wool felt, and I usually, try to use all sheep things whenever possible, just to support our sheepiness. So there's several makers on Etsy who have kits for like the 12 days, or then that's a good way to find wool felt if you're not, if you don't have access to it in the real world. Very enjoyable. Oh, speaking of wool, I think I'm not vending at the Wool Gathering in Yellow Springs, Ohio this year. It's actually next weekend. I am not vending this year, but I think I'm going to go on Saturday. I think I'm going with my mom. So hopefully I can see you there, but if not, also cool. But they have several vendors who have more of like the wool applique kind of wool versus wool felt, but this just made me think of that. So I might see you there. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so what else? Oh, that's right. The other thing I've been thinking about in mental shenanigans of the mind, I just watched, I'm sorry, is it Mayim Bialik? It's Mayim, right? Mayim Bialik? Now I'm saying it and nothing sounds right, but, of Blossom, of The Big Bang, whatnot. Mayim Bialik has a podcast now, which I had never listened to because I just didn't even know it existed, but she kind of got popped up on my YouTube suggestion feed. And she just did a recent, like 15-ish minute video about, she did like a 2-week digital detox where she just, right, no phone, no computer, no motorboat, I was trying like a flashed back to the Beverly Hillbilly song. I don't know, no motor car. I don't know what happened in my brain. Anyway, that's the story of my life. But she was talking about her digital detox, and she was talking about how, it's a great thing. And like, again, it's right. Like, it's easy to go in and like, well, of course she can digital detox. She's a fancy rich lady. And like, she can probably delegate her digital things to other human. But like, so that was like my like initial like, but sometimes I just remember to slow my roll and just to like, see what I could get out of it versus wondering about anything else. Like, let's just see what I can take away from this. Sometimes I'm not the best human. But it was really interesting because one of the things she taught, it was interesting. It's always interesting when people do digital detoxes, but one of the things she was talking about is she was saying that like her brain isn't made for this. It isn't made for a 24/7 news cycle. It isn't made for needing to respond to things from people you don't know in your everyday life at the drop, like at the end on the drop. Like just she was talking about the things that like her brain is really not wired for, and that gave me pause because I feel like my tendency, and I'm sure a lot of people's tendencies, is to think, what's wrong with me that I can't keep up with this, or that I can't seem to like get a good foothold, or like what's wrong with me that I can't respond to things in the time that I think I should respond to them, or that I'm not responding to enough things, or that I'm not keeping up with my work schedule, or like instead of like looking at like how am I not fitting into this square hole that I'm supposed to fit into, and that like clearly I need to be fitting into, but like taking a minute to look back at like, what do I need versus what is needed from me? And like that gave me a good amount of pause. And like, there's lots of other things that I of course pause, like, cause I consume digital media lots of times just as like brain candy, as like, I don't want to like sit with my thoughts, or I am tired and like, I don't know, I'm just like blah. And so instead of even just taking a minute to like stare out the window and just kind of like defrag or like get recentered, I do on something, or I play a round of lemon cake on Nintendo Switch, and oh my gosh, it's really cute. Just saying, you're taking over a bakery from a ghost, and like you get to like bake different things, and then you get chickens, and eventually you get cows, and like you have apple trees, and you get to make apple strudels. And I'm just saying that maybe there's still room in my life for that. So of course, like things like that, you know, I always resonate with me, and like trying to figure out again, like how to take that default, just like blah, 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 stimulus out. Like, cause again, it's so much easier just to be like constantly taking things in rather than actually like digesting and trying to like make connections and think slightly more deeply than lemon cake requires me to. So that always that always rings true, and like it's always something I'm trying to work on. But like to think about it in terms of, well, not what I should be doing. Like, because I mean, part of me thinks like, oh, I should not be doing these internet things, and like, yes, dogs on the internet are very cute, but maybe I should not be like watching quite so many of them. But in terms of like switching that from like what I think I should or shouldn't be doing from versus like what I actually need, like what would actually be, what feels like a need from inside of me versus something I should do, whatever that is, from the outside. And like that was something to, like, I don't sit with like the thought of what I need ever, maybe. Right, because you're a caregiver. Like lots of us are caregivers in whatever capacity, whether it's a spouse or a child or a parent or a community member, or like lots of us are caregivers. And I think it's super easy, you know, I'm not saying anything new. It's just super easy to not actually think about what you need. And again, that then makes you a better caregiver, right? Like that makes you a better, whatever you're doing, it makes you so much better at it. But it's hard to sit with that sometimes and try to figure out what that even is. I mean, I'm 45. Do I even really know what I need? I kind of don't know yet. Maybe I do. Maybe I'm just like not listening to it because it seems complicated. Oh my God. Why do I talk so much, y'all? I'm just talking so much in case maybe somebody else is like, yeah, that actually, this whole thing is so weird. Thanks for sitting in weirdness with me. Okay, let's talk about something I understand. Let's talk about some wool stuff. I have been working on, okay, I'll show you this first. I've been working on my plus shawl, which is a pattern by Olga Jazzy Knits, whose name is actually Olga, I'm going to say this wrong, Olga Olga Jazzy Knits, who is Olga Buraya -Kefelian. Buraya Kefelian? I apologize, Olga. I've met you in the human world and you're quite lovely. So this is her pattern plus shawl. It is actually quite fun. I am usually really against slip stitch patterns, which this one is, but it moves faster than just like a 1-to-1 slip stitch, right? Your slip stitches are mostly just kind of helping you create, well, whatever. And this yarn is Rowan Felted Tweed. I feel like this one is called Pickle, but I could be a liar. Who lies? Oh no, it's French Mustard, I think, is what the one. It's not on here anywhere. I suck at things. But so I bought these at Modern Daily Knitting when I was on my retreat in Nashville with the Knit Girls. And so here's mine so far. Not making huge progress, but it is a very enjoyable knit. I picked it up the other day, so this is where I started. I've got that much more done, so that's fun. So I'm working on that. And then I'm also working on my inlet vest, which is a pattern by Carrie Bostick Hodge. And this is Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the Pollen colorway. I don't think I said that last time. But it's this great color. This great sort of like acidy, yellowy, chartreusey goodness. Let's just get a really simple, slight texture pattern to it. I knit you knit it's from the bottom up, so I split for the armholes, and I put more stitches on the front because I have more flesh in the front of my body. And so I worked the pattern as I thought it read, and like, because I had more stitches than was on the pattern, for example, in the front, I'm not paying as much attention to like decrease every other row 10 times as I am get to this stitch count, because I know I have extra stitches, and so I'm gonna have to. So because of that, I totally did the front incorrectly. And like, you're supposed to actually cast off quite a bit for the neck opening, because it's sort of like a deeper scoop. And I just didn't see the number of stitches I was supposed to cast off, and so I thought it just said cast off the center stitch. But you had actually, in the row before, you had put like a bunch of stitches between markers, and it was actually cast off the number of stitches between the markers. Anyway, so I had just cast off like 1 stitch instead of like 25 or something like that. And so like I got to the shoulders and I was like, this looks really weird. Like, it just looks strange. But I thought, well, I mean, maybe it's just my imagination. I mean, I don't know. I've only knit like 1 vest recently. And I was like, well, I mean, okay. So I started on the back, and then I finally was like, you know what? I think I need to try this on. And I tried it on, and I was like, this looks really wrong. Like, I had all this extra bulk right here, but like the neck opening was like really high, and I was just like, this. So I went back. So I like let it sit for a few days, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do to fix this. And then I actually looked back at the pattern and saw what I had missed, and I was like, oh. Because I looked at other people's projects and I'm like, yeah, none of these look like that. So that's just a little tidbit to let you know that like I've been knitting for 25 years now, 27 years now. Still make huge mistakes. But luckily this yarn is such a delight. I did not mind to rip it out and get to re-knit it again because it's so spongy and fun. It is, I just love it. Yeah. So I've got the back cast off, ready to join up. Wink. And then I'm working on the fronts. I've just split. Again, it's this many stitches I was supposed to cast off versus the one I actually cast off, which again meant that I kept having to decrease at the armholes. So like it kind of like just was like a tent, like just like these weird angles to here, and then like went. I was like, what is this? And so part of it is like, as a person who is on the bigger end of the size range, part of it, you know, one of the things I have to be aware of is sometimes when designers in smaller bodies scale things to bigger bodies, they're not quite as aware of things that are different, right? Like traditionally what would happen is lots of times you would get somebody who would scale something just mathematically. And so like, you know, my bust is twice as big as Miss 25-inch, 30-inch bust, whatever. So then everything is twice as big, right? So like the neck opening is twice as big. The sleeve cuffs are twice as big, and that's just not how that works. So part of it is like, you know, like when something goes awry, I'm often like, okay, is this my first thought is like, is this a weird scaling issue versus like, is this a weird, I didn't read the pattern issue? And in my defense, one of the things that like cued me into wondering that is she has the same number of stitches bound off for the armhole for all sizes, which is very unusual. So I was just a little bit like, So that's what kind of made me think that initially. But, so one of the things that's different about this too, is I've not done this in forever, is that you do garter stitch for the armhole binding, or for the armhole opening. So like you don't have to go back and do ribbing. But interestingly enough, you don't do that for the neckline. So the neckline does have ribbing. I'm just gonna see how it goes. I'm just gonna go with the pattern. I'm actually gonna follow the pattern like a little bit and do what it says. We'll see what happens. I mean, I know why she did that because of that, all those stitches bound off of there. It would be weird if it were self-gartered on the edges, but not there. I understand why. It's just an unusual thing. Okay. Last thing. I cast on, right? How cute are these socks? This is the Crunkled Sock by Kay Jones, who is Bakery Bears, of the Bakery Bears podcast. And this is Woolens and Nosh in her Fancy Schmancy Pumpkins colorway. And this is an all SSK knitting night day time thing. All of these projects are from SSK. From yarn I purchased at SSK or traded for, whatever. Right, how cute is this? This is so cute. So, Woolens and Nosh has had this Fancy Schmancy Pumpkins colorway for a while now, and I've almost bought it several times. But then when I was at SSK, I was like, all right, come on, clearly. And it looks super cute, I think, in this like fun little textural dot pattern. Ah! So cute. Okay, I think that's all. I have to go back to the gym in 2 hours. What have I done? Next week I'm only going twice. I told you that already. I'm just like, it's my mantra. Like, part of it is because I don't have enough recovery time between, like, when I do those every other days. It's like, my muscles are still like, from the time before. Oh my gosh, and I was so excited. This is another thing that happened as like my big treat to myself for, really just for being me, quite frankly. I have wanted, okay, so when I was a kid, I'm born in 78, so I was a kid in the 80s, there were always commercials on TV for several things that I really felt like I needed. One of them was a Craftmatic bed. Okay, stay with me. So it's just basically, I think I think originally the Craftmatic bed was not an adjustable bed frame with a mattress on top. I think it was like an entirely integrated system. It was basically like a hospital bed for your house, but like without the side rails, right? So you could adjust it up and down, you know, and I loved it because they always showed the little people in their bed, like sitting up in bed with their little like feet elevated. They would be like reading a book, and I was just like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like one of my most favorite thing about e-readers is because it was so easy to read in bed, right? Like you didn't have this like 700-page Wheel of Time book that you were like trying to like hold open and getting an arm cramp while you're reading. And I was just like, oh, so that was like the most exciting thing about e-readers. But then they started making the adjustable bed frames, and you're going to be like, they started like 15 years ago, says, I know, shush. But I never thought it was inside my like realm of possibilities. I thought that was for like the fanciest of fancy people. Like you get a yacht and a Craftmatic bed. Those are a package deal. No, you can't have a yacht. That's okay, because Gladys is going to get rid of those anyway. But Gladys cannot get, that's the orca, by the way. Gladys cannot get your Craftmatic bed. Right? So you can totally have it. They're not, I mean, they're not free, but they're not $7 million either. So I totally got a Craftmatic bed. It's not a Craftmatic bed. I'm not sponsored by Craftmatic bed. It is some generic, as my husband says, adjustable bed frame, because he thought I was like, I don't even know if they make them yet still. I don't even know. Okay, it was like a definite interesting option to get it up the stairs, because while it said it only weighed 50 pounds, that is a lie. A lie. As a person who clearly just did a 50-pound farmer's carry, that was not 50 pounds, okay? I could barely get it in, like, from the porch into, like, through the front door, and it, like, that's one level with, like, a little doorway, lintel or whatever. Like, I was barely able to get it from the porch to the front room of my house. It was not 50 pounds. I think it was, like, 250 pounds. It is so my husband is not like a frail, like, bird. I mean, he kind of looks like one, but, like, we barely could get it upstairs. And I was just like, okay, if I would have known this, I probably wouldn't have got it. But now that it's in my room and it's put together, I'm so excited about it because every night I just like lay on my bed and then I'm like head elevated and I like sit up and then I'm sitting up and I'm like reading my little book or sometimes playing my little lemon cake game. And Gus, who is the dog who sleeps with me, is like not sure about it. He is not sure. He was not consulted and he doesn't know why. And he does not know why the bed moves. And it's a little bit like, he's not barked at it, but he's definitely looked at me like, what's happening? And I just want to say, it is so enjoyable. But my husband clearly thought, like he texted me the other day and he like, after we got it put together, because there was an issue with like, there was a clevis pin missing and like, I had to like go through a whole bunch of schniggadiddles. But so I finally got it put together and like set up. And then he was like, so do you use your craft bed to get out of bed in the morning? And I was like, well, I think he kind of thought that I was needing like a chair lift. And I was like, well, no, I just enjoy reading it. But then I was like, oh, well, that is, you know, that's a good point in the future. But anyway, so I've enjoyed that. I'm sorry, I don't know why I was talking about that. But it's very enjoyable to sit up in bed and read at night. And yes, I can totally sit up in bed without the Craftmatic bed. I can sit my little butt up against the headboard and like put pillows on my lap to like get my book up to the right level and like do the whole thing. It's just delightful though this way. It's very delightful. So next I'm going to be getting my like Mutual of Omaha animal cards. Like that's what I mean, maybe I will. I don't know. What were the other ones? That set of books. I want to say the word pickle. Was it like a pickle town or something? Yeah, right. That set of books. That was on the thing. Mortimer, the pen that like made sounds, was on the list. I was saying Mortimer, right? Problematic, but Mortimer is still pure. What else? Yeah. Anyway, okay, now we're just totally rambling, but thanks for coming to visit. Thanks for drinking some tea with me and hanging out and enjoying the inaugural spooky season time. I have lots of like dying weeds out there, so it's gonna look super spooky as spooky season. The other day when I came home, one of our, like, we have this giant garden spiders. She was totally eating like a June bug, like this giant June bug that was like all cocooned, but I think she was actually eating him because, well, she wasn't spinning around him anymore. And I was just like, ooh, so spooky. Like I did this on purpose, clearly. So we're gonna have like some giant garden spider webs amongst all of our dead weeds. It's gonna be great. Anyway, I'll talk to you next time.